Welcome back. Ed Martin here in the Pro America Report. It's been a while since our old friend Mickey Kaus has been on with us, and you can follow him at Twitter. It's a very active Twitter feed, at Kaus Mickey, K-A-U-S is his last name, Mickey Kaus, and go there and check it out. Mickey, how are you? It's been a while. How are things?
I'm fine, thanks. I'm a little down on Trump's prospects and the prospects for holding the Senate, and as an immigration restrictionist, I'm terrified the Democrats get hold of the Senate, they get rid of the filibuster, and they pass a big immigration bill, and then America's never the same again. So that's
I'm going to work that through. We're going to work on that together now in the next few minutes. But before we get to that, you're doing all right on the health front. You're not getting quarantine crazy, but you're also not sick. Everybody's well in your world. That's good.
I'm not any crazier than before, and I didn't have any friends anyway, so I'm doing fine.
That's what I have a friend of mine, John Schlafly, he's often on the show. He says, I've been social distancing for years. It's my preferred method of functioning. So he said it's really quite enjoyable. But all right, first of all, Mickey, what's your biggest worry right now? Forget about the next thing. Right now that can happen. I mean, you got to like the direction of the president trying. I mean, I know he failed on the census question, the citizenship question, which was, insane to me, Chief Justice Roberts yet again. But here we are, and he's trying to say, we're not going to let the illegal immigrant count be used for representation. I'm not sure he can win that, but at least he's driving home. I've had people tell me I didn't even know that was like that. I mean, he's directionally better than you could have ever expected. What do you worry about right now? Like in the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks that they would try to do that you're worried about?
I worry about this mysterious immigration order that he keeps talking about, which is somehow going to take care of DACA and involve a bunch of other things relating to immigration, merit-based immigration, and he seems to believe another Roberts opinion, which says, even if he does something illegal, it's going to take Biden or anybody else years to get rid of it, so that it at least lasts for a few years, so he can provide for DACA and he can change the immigration laws, and nobody can stop him for 2 years. And that seems crazy to me. It seems like he's actually courting impeachment if he does that.
Do you think though that is it and I know it's been frustrating for you, but is this one of those times where he talks about something because he wants to see the reaction, and the reaction of a whole bunch of conservatives was like, you can't do that, and he's gone on to the next thing, or you think he's waiting and somewhere Jared Kushner's got polling that tells him this will really help us, and then they go ahead and do it?
I think it's both. I think Jared's lobbying him, and he was testing it out, and the reaction was negative, but he persisted a little longer than you'd like, and he's still persisting longer than you'd like if it was just a trial balloon that he dropped. So I think the problem is that Jared and people are actively lobbying it, and even though he's resisting, he hasn't dropped it yet, and he just seems to be in the sway of this Berkeley law professor who's very, very smart, but maybe a little out in fantasy land.
Yeah. John Yoo, you're talking about, right? Yeah. But Mickey, we're talking with Mickey Kaus, at Kaus Mickey. I want to ask you this one. I saw a tweet you retweeted. It's almost lost on people if you're not a close observer. There was a fight between Liz Cheney, who's in Congress in the House, and leadership, and a bunch of the conservatives, what I call the real conservatives. And Andy McCarthy tweeted something like, Liz Cheney is great, and the day there's not room for her in the Republican Party is the day they should shut the party down. You, of course, being Mickey Kaus, quickly said your proposal is acceptable. But I guess what I want to point to is that it's not over, the fight between the wing of the Republican Party that enjoyed the nation building, the sort of neocon wing, plus that wing is also the immigration on demand. I mean, really, that's still ascendant. Liz Cheney has a good chance of being speaker. I mean, that's one of the realities here, right?
Right, and the fight gets more intense whether or not Trump is reelected. He gets incredibly intense if he's not reelected. But yes, that is the fight for the future of the Republican Party between the swamp and the Trumpers. And my line is, why should they stick together in the same party? The issues that used to hold them together, which is tax cuts and national defense, aren't really that important electorally anymore. We tried the tax cut; it didn't really move the needle. So why should these people who hate each other stay in the same party? It's probably best if the Trumpers stay in control of the Republican Party, and Cheney can go wander and find whatever home she can find.
We're talking with Mickey Kaus, and I want to point this out because this is what I'm going to segue to it. I often tell, 1992, he had a book. It's called The End of Equality, published by Basic Books. A lengthy essay, I think, was a year or two before that, the same topic and maybe the same title. So, Mickey, I want to ask you this. I never sought your advice or sought your opinion on this. Right now, we're seeing that the school systems can't handle either the reality of coronavirus or the perception. Doesn't matter what at all. They just can't handle it. In the county I now live in Northern Virginia, Fairfax County, the superintendent just rolled over, gave into the teachers union, and they're going to be distance learning the whole year long. Nobody's going to school. The schools won't get together. Now, there's two things I want to say. One is, as you know, Mickey Kaus, these school systems, these public school systems, San Diego, Los Angeles, they're full of, I mean, they're not full of, but they have a huge number of illegal immigrants, children in those schools. That's another reality of the cost of this. But here's what I want to ask you. There's now becoming this critique of the fact that some parents, usually more affluent, are taking their kids out of these schools and creating sort of homeschooling pods. And now they're fighting each other over whether that's socially acceptable, socially just, or whatever. But here's one question, Mickey, that I always want to ask you that I wondered about. One is in the county I live in, Northern Virginia now, we have a school system that the Fairfax County, they've decided, and I'll put aside for a second the number of illegal immigrant students in these schools. It's a huge number, huge cost. But, when you talk about inequality, you wrote a book on that. The school systems, and I know what I was going to tell you. There's a fight now amongst a bunch of people who are looking at this fall, and they're saying, well, if you're not going to have real school, I'm going to pull my kids out and I'm going to pay for tutors and create special pods for my kids and other kids like them. And there's an argument going on amongst social justice warriors that this is unfair, right? My point is, is there anything in American life that is worse right now in terms of inequality than our school system, dominated by the teachers union, which I know you've talked a lot about, but also it doesn't get consensus amongst Americans to change it. We're still living with a system that's so terrible. What am I missing here?
No, I think you got it exactly right. It should be a great coming together institution that gets people of all walks of life in the same institution. The problem is kids learn from their peers. They don't learn from their teachers. They don't learn from their parents. So there's a tremendous incentive among affluent people to get their kids in the right group of peers. So there's always going to be this inegalitarian push, and the virus, as you say, has just turbocharged it, because people are just pulling their kids out of schools and going completely private. And, the only hope, I think, is if it leads to some form of school choice that then can be jiggered to mix people of various classes together in a way that the public schools in most parts of the country, except small towns, actually have stopped doing.
Yeah.
They haven't done it for years, but go ahead.
Yeah. All right. No, last, I just got about a minute left. You're down on the fall. You think the fall is going the wrong way for the president. Is it mostly because of the virus, or what? You give me your 45 seconds before.
Because of the virus. I think it's mostly because of the virus. I think he was sitting pretty, not a sure thing, but he had a good shot with a strong economy and wages rising. Immigration was under control until the virus hit, and then he just made the wrong call. He decided it wasn't important. He didn't have to react to it, and that it would go away. And that was just a fundamental, near fatal error. And my main worry is the Republicans lose the Senate, and they have a bunch of very weak candidates: Martha McSally, Tom Tillis. I mean, who picked these people? They're not Trumpers. And they're going to, if Trump goes down, they're going to go down too. And if the Democrats win the Senate, all bets are off.
Yeah, we'll see. I'll have you back on again, and we'll straighten you out. I got to run out of time, though. But Mickey Kaus, as always, @KausMickey is his Twitter feed. Very insightful. And through there, you can sign up and get his emails, which don't get sent frequently enough from him telling you when he's writing. So thanks, Mickey. Good to talk to you.
Thanks, Ed.
All right, we'll talk again soon. It's Ed Martin on the Pro America Report. We'll take a quick break and be right back.